So this is just a quick review of the new Kevin Costner Western Horizon, an American saga. This is the first chapter of an intended 4 chapters, I believe, the second chapter of which is supposed to be coming out very soon, like next month. Which I quite like, that exciting going to see part 1 where you know part 2 is coming very soon, as opposed to when you have to wait ages to get, even like a TV series now, you have to absolutely ages sometimes just to see the next season, and I don't really like that. Overall, I really like the film, even though I find it hard to pick out individual moments that I particularly liked. I would also struggle to explain the plot. That's part of the problem with this film. I would recommend it to people who like, obviously, long, slow, sort of historical movies, particularly films about American history, or if you like Kevin Costner as an actor, a director, or both, then you're going to like this film. And if not, I'm not sure if you will like the film. While I was watching the film, it reminded me of how I felt when watching Killers of the Flower Moon, this Scorsese movie, which is about a similar kind of topic, or later in history. But that's quite different because that's just one film with a beginning, middle, and end. This film was just part 1, and we don't get any conclusion. It's a bit like this sort of Planet of the Apes movie that came out, which is now part of a new trilogy. And because it's just part 1, it's so slow, the movie, that you don't really have much of an experience of completion, because all you've been watching is just setting something up for later. But I did prefer it to Planet of the Apes film. For some reason, I was really struggling to stay awake in the Planet of the Apes movie. And in this film, I wasn't in this kind of physical predicament. I was quite happy to just sit there and watch it. But, it does have its issues. It does have its issues with pacing. Obviously, it's very slow. I'm worried about the completion of this project, especially at the cinema. I mean, I think I would only want to watch this at the cinema, because when I'm at the cinema, I'm not tempted to get my phone out or go off somewhere else. And if I watched it on the television, I think I would just get up and start doing something else. You've got to have a bit of discipline to watch this. But I think it also fits the cinema with the cinematography, the big location scenes, the background in the desert and everything like this. I'm worried that it's not going to come out, the last films, because for example, there was this series of films about the American Civil War. We had Gettysburg, then the prequel to that, Gods and Generals, and then the sequel to Gettysburg, The Last Full Measure, never came out, because the production costs for these films are enormous and the audience just isn't really there, and that's the worry. Costner is investing huge amounts into this set of movies. I really hope, though, I can just sort of watch all of them at the cinema. Yeah, there were some films that I was thought about when I watched it. So, obviously Dances with Wolves is a Costner movie, and he did some other films with a bit of a Western feel to them, but, that's his Western, Dances with Wolves. It's one of my favourite films ever. It's nowhere near as good as Dances with Wolves. I said the cinematography is really good. I like bits where you can sort of look through a telescope, for example, and that's something that was kind of similar. There was times when I thought about Spielberg's movies like Lincoln or Amistad. There's just that had that kind of historical weight to it, or there's a lot of talking going on. But also the film New World by Terrence Malick. And I think the thing that made me think of that was simply, again, the subject matter is a bit similar, although it's a different period in history. It's earlier than this film. However, it's just the kind of brutality, right? You get really transported back to this previous time. You actually get a genuine sense of fear and the danger that was present for these settlers. And that's what reminded me of New World. I think I'm going to wrap it up there, because, there's other films to come out in this series, and maybe I can talk more about it in a future review. I hope people go and see it, just so we get to see these films at the cinema. But I am worried about its broader appeal. Anyway, let's see what happens. Thanks very much.